That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Folks, this month we're heading to the town of Bedrock to celebrate our favorite modern Stone Age family, the Flintstones. Join us as we follow the Flintstones to the movies and witness their prehistoric evolution through time. A journey full of spy thrills, crossovers, weddings, a lot of heart, and marriage counseling. So, park yourself in the drive in and order some oversized ribs as we start our Flintstones Film Fest.
Yabba-dabba-doo!
And tonight, oh boy, place your bets, folks. Is the nostalgia gonna hold up? It's Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas! All right.
Ka-ching.
Dragon, I think that's the most hyped up so far that I've been for one of these things. Okay, so Dragon, I'm just going to start us right off, and I'm going to go into a little childhood antidote, if you don't mind.
Anecdote.
Running gag. All right. So, Dragon, I don't know what it was. I've kind of been tracking the early movies of my cinematic career. I saw The Lion King in 94, of course. Toy Story in 95. That's like a big notch in my belt. The Star Wars special editions when they came out in 97. Dragon, for some reason, and I like this is honestly like I remember when this time period was from about 98 to 2000. But for some reason in that time period, even though I was a little older, I had this really big fear of going to the movies and specifically like the dark environment. I think at that time I did have a fear of the dark that did feed into this. And so, Dragon, the Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas is it's a big nostalgia movie for me because in between seeing Return of the Jedi in theaters in '98 and then seeing something like Phantom Menace in '99, which that was great, but it was still a little bit overwhelming. This was this was oddly the movie that got me into going to the movies. Dragon, this is the one. It's so weird that this is the one, but Dragon, I was a big Flintstones fan as a kid. I was a big fan of the Rugrats Vegas special, which I do think we need to go over at some point. I don't know. Just generally speaking, it's weird because I've never been to Vegas. I think if I went to Vegas now, I would probably hate it. But as a kid, like all the larger than life lights and casinos and high energy really did fascinate me as a tourist destination. So, Dragon, suffice to say, this movie, watching it now through the lens of an adult, after seeing it 3 times in theaters as a kid and watching it endless times on VHS, does it hold up? No. Is it a good time? Yeah. I had a fun time with this one. I do think it's certainly probably a better film than the Jetsons Meet the Flintstones. Definitely not a better film than I Yabba Dabba Do, and absolutely not in the same league as the live action, as the original live action Flintstone movie from the '90s. We'll go into that. I don't know, Dragon. This it's kind of towards the bottom of the tiers of Flintstones films that we're talking about. It's definitely got a lot. It's definitely got a lot of dated elements to it, but I don't know. I still had a fun time with it. I mean, I feel like this movie really does kind of like embrace the fact that it's it's a live action cartoon. It takes advantage of it. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's dated, but I still have a nostalgia for it, and I'm not gonna say it holds up, but I will say that it's more watchable than I was expecting it to be. All right. What say you, sir?
Yeah, so for me, this has always been one of the most deflating Flintstone movie experiences. Really has. I mean, I had a lot of love for the '94 film that Levant or Leviton, however you like to pronounce it, Brian Levant. Uh, how he with the first film, the original live action film. I had a lot of love for that. So as a kid, it's like okay, I really enjoyed that first one. Oh boy, there's another one from a distance. It's like a mirage almost. Like, oh, there's more. Go to it. Go to it. And I went to it, and I'm excited for more. And then pressing play. Uh-oh.
Oh God.
That's this. Everything's wrong. What's going on here? This isn't how it should start. That's not John Goodman. What have I walked into? So that's kind of you. So again, deflating has always been kind of the emotion kind of associated with this
Is
film.
this your Lost World?
I mean, I don't know if it's kind of passionate enough to be a Lost World. Wait, well, oh yeah, you mean with the right? Yeah, sure.
Lost World Jurassic Park, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's on brand. It sounds about right.
Okay, fair enough.
I was thinking you were talking about the other one you were really hyped for. Like, oh yeah, like Lost World. I don't know. It's kind of on brand. It seems kind of right. Anyway, so yeah, so the original to me, it feels like the original film with Levant was made out of love. This one was made entirely for money.
We've got to have money, is
exactly.
a line that Dick Rockefeller sounds like he would say in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. He's the prehistoric grandpa to that line.
Right.
Tony J said it second. This guy said it first. Anyway, so to be fair, I want to be fair to this movie, though, given the benefit of hindsight and looking back on it years later. To be fair, there were casting limitations when you don't have the availability of the cast from the first film. I'm not sure necessarily that should have cemented we got to go the prequel route. I don't think that should have been a certainty, as it appears to have been for some reason in the minds of the filmmaker here. Of okay, we don't have the cast, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna go in the past. We're gonna do prequel. Especially with Gazoo as the Great Gazoo as the next go-to. That really just seemed like a really weird combination. Prequel yet Gazoo. Like these two things do not mesh well.
Introduced basically as a last minute oh shit, don't get unengaged with this show yet, folks. We got a kooky cartoon alien. Look.
I'll get into Gazoo's history, which is quite interesting, a little bit momentarily. But yeah, so you're kind of mixing something basically towards the end of the Flintstones run with something towards the top. It was a very weird combination. I think was very much in conflict.
Of story for sure.
I think it was very much in conflict, and I think it hurt the movie. So here's the thing. Here's the thing with this movie. The frustrating thing with me with this movie, just kind of accepting, okay, well, it's not the first movie. It's not John Goodman. It's not that amazing kind of fun cast that we had. But divorcing yourself from that hope, I can get behind Fred and Barney falling in love with their wives, and of course the wedding of in the wedding story like that. I can get behind. I like that because I love I Yabba Dabba Doo, man. I can get behind that. But
they quote I Yabba Dabba Doo in this movie, which that was a kind of oh, I just saw that movie and I liked it. All right, well played.
And again, you're seeing the evolution of the idea. Well, we did a wedding movie, it went over really well, and then going forward, let's borrow from that. So, however, I can get behind that element of the story. I think that's the most successful part of this movie. But the crack of the crime subplot that we've had in these Flintstone animated movies so far and the live action film, I think
don't know what it is with Flintstones and crime subplots. It's weird.
So where it was a crack before, just kind of growing ever larger, and of course when we got to the '94 film, the fracture was apparent but not overwhelming. Here, I think it is overwhelming. It's like it's basically almost, it's not half the movie, but almost half the movie. It's like your entire third act crime subplot.
Yeah. I think this movie has a total pacing problem. Absolutely. Yeah. When I was watching it, I was shocked, Dragon. I was shocked at some of the pacing issues in this one. We'll break it down.
It's shorter than the other ones.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's just there's an odd distribution of screen time, to put it mildly.
So basically, I think that kind of that crime subplot fracture it fractured any chance the movie had, in my opinion. And honestly, if I had to summarize everything, put a bow on it, this is the most direct-to-video Flintstones movie, and the TV. And after we talked about the TV movies, even that in mind, it's this is the most direct-to-video feelings Flintstones movie out of that bunch. And I don't share I tell you, I really do prefer the Jetsons Meet the Flintstones over this. I mean, I know this movie.
I can't sign off on that just because of personal nostalgia. Jetsons Meet the Flintstones was kind of a nothing burger of a movie for me.
Though it's weird though, because I feel Act One of that is weak sauce, but Act One of Act One of the Flintstones and the Jetstones,
The Jetstones.
the Flintstones meets the Jetsons was weak sauce, but I think they reversed it here. The first act is pretty good, and then it deflates. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it absolutely deflates. This is a movie that just kind of like loses steam. Like it starts out where it's a pretty inflated balloon, and then it just there's like a small air leak in it, and then by the end it's just nothing.
Yep, it's like a sad Fred Flintstone parade balloon.
By the way, did you know that Goku got a parade balloon this year?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you.
Was it Super Saiyan Goku or regular Goku? Wait, Super Saiyan?
Super Saiyan.
Yeah. All right, well,
anyway.
It's the traditional Super Saiyan with the blonde hair?
Yes, well, it was blonde hair, yes.
Good. I hate for them to be like Dragon Ball Super, which people are kind of split on. Okay. Right. Anyway, back to Bedrock. So I guess some background then.
Go ahead.
Okay, so not a whole lot here. So, of course, the movie came out in 2000. That's 6 years after the 94 film. Again, we have Brian Levitan directing. Again, he got to start in the TV sitcom, which is why he was kind of a shoe-in for the Flintstones. He loved that property. It's just why he directed the first one. What kind of gives him carte blanche to direct that? He did Beethoven, which went over well. And after the Flintstones movie, he went on to do stuff like Jingle All the Way and Snow Dog. So the curse of Brian Levant films are that he makes these very financially successful family films, but the critics hate him. So file that away for the moment. Now, the 94 film, it did well, again, per what I just said. And that kind of incentivized the studio. Let's do another one. Let's do a sequel. But big problemo, John Goodman and Rick Moranis, they're no-goes because John Goodman, he refused to come back because look, I rolled the dice thanks to Spielberg. I did well.
John, in this movie, you'll actually get to roll dice. Funny cartoon dice, John. All right.
Anyway, so John Goodman, he refused. I assume he just didn't want to take another risk. Okay, the first one worked out better than it had any right to. I don't want to chance it anymore. And even so, things could have been punched. I didn't want that crime plot in there, but it was in there. So
yeah.
I don't know how he felt about that. I'd like to think he felt. Yeah,
I feel like by this point, unfortunately, Rick Moranis was kind of like in his hermit state, right? Like the early years.
Well, no. Moranis had retired at this point. That's why he's not in the movie.
Right, yeah.
So he had officially retired. And then he would down the line. He would come back for very, very small bit. Like he did like a voice cameo in the Goldbergs, and he's going to be in the Honey I Shrunk the Kids thing officially coming out of retirement. So,
yeah, I got to admit, I've never been the biggest Honey I Shrunk fan, but I know enough of it to where I'm excited about it.
See, there's one. I have one nostalgic hole with Honey I Shrunk the Kids that I have to fill before I even watch that show. So I got to decide if I want to do that or not. Anyway, so
hot take for the Honey I Shrunk franchise: Honey We Shrunk Ourselves is easily the best one.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Really?
Personally, I think so.
You don't like I Blew Up the Baby?
I mean, that one's fun, but I just don't think it has the same sort of like scale sight gags as the Shrunk movies.
All right. Anyway. So Anyway. Okay.
I just remember the adults falling into the bowl of cereal dragon. That image is like forever etched into my brain.
I know. I have nostalgia for that, but I never got to the movie. When I did, it was kind of deflated. Oh no, they're doing this sort of story.
All right.
Anyway, so Moranis again retired. So then that kind of assumedly leads them to make the leap. Hey, let's do a prequel, which I think is ill-conceived. It's an ill-conceived idea to do that, to basically hide the recasting. It's going to be very apparent, and it's going to be like, well, wait, wouldn't they be younger then? I mean, it's like, if we're just going to recast them, why just no one's really going to? I don't think anyone's really going to make that big a stink about it. Okay, so this Fred Flintstone becomes the John Goodman Fred Flintstone. Why make it a prequel?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Rock Vegas, historically always kind of a hyped-up location in the Flintstones, had an appearance on the original run, and of course, majorly canonized in a big way, I Yabba Dabba Doo, where we established Fred and Wilma got married in Rock Vegas, which is why, oh no, Pebbles and Bam Bam can't get married in Rock Vegas. No!
You know why they almost got married in Rock Vegas, Dragon?
Why, Tiki?
Because they got in a fight.
Yes.
Right.
Anyway, so again, so rock vegas have been kind of making a comeback. So most recently on people's minds because of the I Yabba Dabba Do thing. Anyway, so let's see. So we know Wilma came from money, and we knew they were married in Rock Vegas. That's essentially what we established in those in between all of that. So that's what we had to build on with the prequel. So they built the Rock Vegas strip, which took months. It was a big set piece, the big money set piece of the whole film, and it was very much the way that what they did is you'll notice they built a lot of big signs, like the iconic kind of Vegas signs to basically hide the fact of okay, we pretty much only have the strip to make it look like all of Rock Vegas. So because we're gonna have these
Right,
big signs,
right, yeah.
which is a kind of a clever kind of forced perspective sort of thing. Honestly, it's
I will say this. I do think that when they do go practical for the sets in this movie, I don't think it looks nearly as good as the first one. Don't
no,
get me wrong, but I do think it looks good. It still kind of maintains that sort of aesthetic.
it's on brand,
Um,
but clearly not with the same money.
the problem is this movie is chock full of awful CGI, and we'll get there.
I know we will. We will.
Anyways,
Anyway, so let's see. So, of course, well, not a whole lot known about the movie beyond that. Just this historically went down in infamy, and to my chagrin, overshadowed the original. Because whenever people are thinking of Flintstones, they're thinking of like the infamous one, which is this one. All the negative elements versus all the stuff the first movie got right.
yeah.
And last little kind of twist of the knife here. Levant's first and possibly only, from what I can find, box office bomb. As in, this is the only family-friendly movie he made. He's made some real clunkers, but I'm saying at least they had a financial return. This is the only one that lost money.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. So can we just dive right into it then?
Yes. So let's talk the Gazoo in the room.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I want to bring up a highlight for me when I was a kid, something that started the movie on the right foot for me. And Dragon, you know how I always said that the fork in the road in the Muppet movie for me was like baby's first sight gag.
Yeah.
The universal letters and I'm sorry, the
Universal.
universal letters, and Gazoo pointed out like, what is with the big letters?
Okay, that's pretty clever. Yeah.
That is baby's first fourth wall break for me, Dragon. Because keep in mind, this was pre-Emperor's New Groove by a few months.
Yeah.
So, of course, Emperor's New Groove would just come and like totally like, redefine my entire sense of humor. But this was like kind of like the universal letters was like kind of like dipping the toe in the fourth wall pool,
All right. So
like,
first off,
that's fun. I think I might wade a little bit more in these waters. And then Emperor's New Groove comes along and just throws you into the deep end of the fourth wall.
let me give you a little reminder on what the deal with Gazoo is this period with the Flintstones, all right?
Yes.
So Gazoo, for those who may not remember,
It was basically a shark jump, right?
well, yes, he was exactly.
That's how I would describe him.
Yeah, that's the thing. So basically, he was a Jump the Shark character addition in the last season of the Flintstones. I want to say like the last 11 episodes or so, or however long. So basically, they wanted and Gazoo's whole deal, the whole shtick in the show was that because it's really dark. It's darker than you probably imagine, actually. So Gazoo basically had got his hands on like a doomsday weapon and was going to like a planet destroying weapon, and the other Gazoos, the other people of his planet didn't like that, so they sent him to community service, which is work literally as a genie. I mean, pretty much as a genie. They kind of call that out here in this because again, if they make him a genie in this movie, the movie's going to be over in 2 seconds. So they have to take that off the table. In the Flintstones, if you recall, he just pops up and he gives Fred and Barney whatever they want, and Again, right now I'm binging through the Flintstones, so I don't know how well it holds up with the Gazoo stuff. I don't know if there's like an arc or development of like I like to think the sell with Gazoo is that he's doing community service. He has to basically be a servant to Fred and Barney, and he kind of grows to like and learn about him as it goes on. Like, oh, I'm liking humanity more through these two goofballs, these two dum-dums.
That sounds lovely, Dragon. You know what's not lovely?
The way we did it here.
The CG on Alan Cummings' face.
Okay, Tiki. Actually,
what's with your face?
Okay, so fun fact. Actually, not
Okay.
CG.
Dragon, it's CG in the fact that
Well,
it's like it's clearly like it's Alan Cummings' face, and then it's like green screened onto the body, and it looks wrong.
well, let
Dragon.
me tell you, it's funny. Let me tell you, it's really hilarious how they did this. Okay,
Okay.
so you have Alan Cumming, who has the makeup and everything onto them. The head is entirely practical. Now, here's the thing, though: the body is also entirely practical. What they did, Alan Cummings, I believe, also fully made up during this, is he's in a giant. It's in a giant version of that little body, a giant foam little body, and they just shrunk his head on with the blue screen. So it's like it's two practical elements, but he's like he's
Okay. You
on
know
wires.
what? I God damn it! You know what's funny about that is from a practical level that is impressive, but it
Yeah,
still looks weird.
I know. That's the thing. It was a terrible way to do it, but it looks
like given that that is like a pretty ingenious way to do it, I'm kind of now even more frustrated that it looks as bad as it does.
right. I
Honestly.
mean, right? Because again, it sounds really impressive. Because yeah, like because they gave him like they found a way to make like a tiny CG. Like nowadays, we just do it with a click of a button.
But
Like
you
no,
agree, it looks bad, right?
no,
Like
yeah,
it looks
yeah, it does look.
bad.
It looked very. It was. Here's the thing. It's a horrible note to start the movie off of.
Yeah,
Too. It's like
yeah.
anyway. So fun. Also, one other big fun fact. And this kind of relates to something later in the movie. So the kind of the good luck charm of the Flintstones. I don't think he's in every Flintstones thing we've talked about, but he's in most. Harvey Corman, the great Carol Burnett actor, Harvey Corman, he does a voice. Usually has a voice cameo in the Flintstones movies and stuff because he was on the original Flintstones, I believe, in other roles, but most famously, he was the Great Gazoo
Uh-huh.
in the animated show, and he's also again the Dick Bird in the last movie, and here he plays Wilma Flintstone's father, Colonel Slaghoople. So Harvey, a lot of love to Harvey Corman. So just a
The
little,
Colonel was honestly one of the big notes where I was like, "Oh, I forgot how fun this character was."
yeah. So it's, again, a little. I love that we're showing love to the Carol Burnett greats,
Sure.
the Harvey Cormans of the world. Anyway, so Alan, here's the thing. Here's the thing that frustrates me about Gazoo. Okay, so one, Alan Cumming, I think is solid. In general, I think he's a solid casting. He's not bad casting for the Great Gazoo. I don't necessarily mind what he's doing, but he's complete does not belong in this story at all. The pro, the two big issues I have with Gazoo, I think the reason I think he predominantly tanks the movie in many respects is between him and the crime plot is kind of what tanks the movie. So Gazoo has always had too much power because again, he's literally like the genie of the show. Where it's like if he
Yeah.
snaps his fingers, gives them literally any. That's the gag. Gives them anything they want. They always have to. That's why the last season was so desperate. Like, okay, we have to come up with things. We got to spice things up, but we've overpowered them. Now we can give them anything they want. We're running out of story.
Mhm.
So we have to address. Okay, so he's not a genie, which makes him a more useless version of the Watcher. Where he doesn't even have like a cool gimmick or anything. He's just gonna pop up and just interrupt all the good stuff. Literally every good scene we have in this movie in the first act is interrupted by Gazoo just kind
No,
of
you know what? It's funny. I did kind of get some of those vibes of like, all right, Gazoo would be a real help if you could just step in here.
So it just irritates me to no end of just like, yeah, he can't interfere. People can't see him outside of Fred and Barney. It's like, why is he in the
There's
movie?
no rules that establish that either, and that drives me crazy. It just is.
Yep. I mean, they just say like, oh yeah, they can't see me. As Fred looks like a crazy person. Yeah,
You know what would have been? You know what would have taken 10 seconds to write in there?
what?
Oh, dum-dums, you're the first person who pulled me out, so therefore you're the only ones who can see me.
Okay, there you go.
You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't make much sense, but it's something.
It would. You're right. It would have made sense. I would have
Yeah.
done that
All
anyway.
right.
So that's the thing. It's like it just leads to the question of okay, so he's not a genie here. Which I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but the fact is he is a non.
But they still refer to the genie thing, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in context. Because I don't know about you, Dragon, but that doesn't look like a bottle to me.
But here's what I'm saying though. Regardless, if he can't do his big thing from the show, why is he here outside of
Yeah.
nostalgia bait? Right?
Yeah.
It's like all he's here to do is be nostalgia bait and interrupt all the sentimental stuff that's working in the movie.
And then also be like, look how creative our computer effects are, or
Yes.
are just, and it's just not. All right.
It's also the other problem I think what really kind of kills our adaptation of Kazoo here is there's no arc of that connection with Fred and Barney of like okay he's watching the mating thing for it's the fact that again they adapted everything wrong about Gazoo here. We're okay. He's banished just because he's mildly annoying on his home planet. That's the only reason he's banished. Like, he didn't try to kill humanity. He didn't buy like a doomsday weapon. He didn't like be. He wasn't like gleefully assigned. Oh, hey, listen, we want you to do this for us. Like, no, it's just we don't like you. Get out of here. Like, you're saddling us with the character you don't like. We don't even know why I don't like him yet. Really? That's so. It's just like a complete waste of that character, and again, just really odd place to put him in. Like before they I don't know. It's just all.
So on that note, Dragon, can we transition into the casting just in general?
Yeah, sure.
I think let's start with Fred and Barney, then bounce to the Wilma Betty of it all, and then kind of go from there.
So I gotta tell you,
And honestly, I feel like that's going to make up like a majority of our conversation, besides kind of like the Rock Vegas of it all, which, as we're going to get into, takes up way less of the movie than it should, in my opinion.
Okay, well, let me first let me kind of massage out the transition here.
Okay.
To get to Fred and Barney. So the prequel setting of Act One, just in general, which kind of basically takes all of our character introductions here. I think it's really nice to see where we start off with these characters. I do like that. I think it's nice to see Fred.
There's
and Barney.
A couple really, really nice moments for all of the characters in here, I think.
Yeah, so again, all the good stuff I really have to say is pretty much in kind of that Act One, maybe at the most top of Act Two sort of stuff. It's
Agreed.
like just kind of that whole, basically the bedrock section of the film. Where,
okay, when the movie falls apart?
When we go to Rock Vegas.
Well, yeah, but specifically the misunderstanding with Betty.
Yeah, oh, that's terrible. Oh, God.
I pretty much tracked it, Dragon. I tracked it on the most, like, I watched this twice in preparation for this.
That was always
because, of course I did, because this is super nostalgic for me. And Dragon, yeah, undeniably, when Betty has that mistake of, like, Barney flirting with the showgirl or whatever, that is pinpoint the moment where the whole movie just falls to shit.
Yeah. Yeah, then we put Alan Cumming in a bunch of fur.
All right. Anyways,
right, so
before we get there, Dragon, happier times. times.
So I think it's really nice to see Fred and Barney getting their start at the quarry, and like the whole crane and mechanic angle.
Can I talk about my favorite Fred moment in this?
Please do.
It's super earnest, Dragon.
I know there's some great Fred moments at the top. Which one is it?
Okay, so I love when Fred is talking to Rockefeller, right? And Rockefeller is talking about like, oh, so what do you do, Flintstone? What line of work are you in? And Fred's like, oh, I work down at the quarry. And Rockefeller's like, oh, what do you do? Buy out Slade & Co.? Fred's like, no, I'm a Bronto crane operator down at the quarry. And Drake, what I love about that is that Fred is such a simple guy that he's so proud. And, he feels so satisfied with the lot in life that he's been given. And he holds absolutely no embarrassment about that. It's like he's a blue collar, average Joe, and he's proud of it. And I really think this first act of the movie, before things go off the rails, showcases that rather nicely.
Yeah, so just to bleed into that, so again, just seeing kind of like, Fred and Barney at their starts here. So Mark Addy and Stephen Baldwin. I gotta be honest, look, little inferior to what we had in the first movie, but again, not bad casting, though. I don't think it was bad
Here's
casting.
the thing. Mark Addy, I think, is a random as hell casting choice. I don't know where the hell they got that guy. Do you know the story with him, Dragon?
Well,
why he was cast?
Well, Mark Addy is if I recall, he's an English actor who also has I think he's a musician as well on the side. That's I want to. That's the thing. I don't mind that we kind of pulled an unknown for Fred, because I think here's the thing. Mark Addy put the work in, man. I really respect that.
He did. I'm saying it's just kind of like a random casting choice.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak. All I know is the other thing I know Mark Addy from is Jack Frost. He's the buddy of Jack Frost, the Michael Keaton Snowman movie.
And then I'm sorry, I was going to say Keaton. Stephen Baldwin. Dragon, I'm convinced the only reason they cast him was for the laugh.
He did that laugh really flawlessly, though.
I don't think that he necessarily has a bad performance in this movie. I'm just saying every time they cut to him, Dragon, he's doing that laugh.
That is true.
The most prominent shot in the movie for me with the laugh, where it's like, all right, guys, we get it. He's got the laugh, is when they're going to the Slag Hoople Manor for the first time. Mm-hmm. And Barney's like, hey, look, Betty, a stretch limo. And then he just gets in the limo and just like, It's like, all right, Stephen Baldwin, like you've shown that you can do a Barney Rubble laugh. Good job.
But I'm just saying, given the circumstances, I mean, I think we did as well as we could in terms of recasting those two. So, in all fairness, again, obviously, I think basically John Goodman was Fred Flintstone. He just went to the honeymooners to reflect, like, what's the
John
core of
Goodman
Fred
was
Flintstone?
Fred Flintstone. Mark Addy feels like he's doing a good impression of Fred
Yeah, like I
Flintstone.
think Mark
Yeah.
Addy, like the analogy I use is that John Goodman researched the inspiration behind Fred Flintstone. This guy researched Fred Flintstone. I think he did a good job because
Right,
of that.
right.
So, speaking of which, I think what was captured really well with the Fred Flintstone of this film is that there's a really great likable Fred Flintstone quality here. Like we see he's at the top of the movie. We see when he's getting ready to take the exam to be the crane operator. The guy's a hard worker. He comes up with a study plan. He's very determined. Okay, I'm gonna put in the
This
research.
study plan always charmed me, man. Even as a kid, it's decently sound logic, honestly.
And that's the thing. I think we hit the likability of Fred Flintstone really well. This is a guy who he's absolutely going to put in the work and everything and study, but he's out of luck because it's today's. Like he has like the Spider-Man Parker luck, where it's like, oh no, it's today.
Okay, so tell me, Dragon, how entertaining is the dude that's giving Fred the test?
Pretty fun.
I mean, he's in like a minute of screen time, man. But this guy just eats up Dragon. He's taking ice cream scoops out of the scenery, man.
Flintstone.
Flintstone, you passed.
That's good. Yeah. Now, I will say this though. I did on the flip side though. I hated the fart jokes so much, and you know why?
Oh my god, yeah.
Let me tell you why.
I'm glad it's one of the only fart jokes we do get in the movie, but talk about starting it off on the wrong foot, right?
Let me tell you, I have a vendetta against this fart joke, Tiki. This is like one of the Hall of Famers in terms of hatred.
I don't blame you, Dragon. It's a bad one. It's a really bad one. I mean, it comes complete with the giant thermometer, and it's just all around unpleasant.
I mean, I do like the idea of Barney's a mechanic because we never really covered precisely what, at least I don't think it's like general knowledge of what Barney does at the quarries. People just assume he's a crane operator, but yeah, I mean, I think he does other things. So regardless, I don't mind him being a mechanic, and the idea, okay, so he's basically a doctor to the dinosaur crew, the Brontosaurus. Is okay, fine, but here's the thing: it's pun intended, slight pun intended. This gag stinks for so many reasons. Mainly because the reason I hate it is because it's always the go-to clip of like, hey, the dinosaur effects in the Flintstones. Like, no, not that one. No. Go to the other
that
movie.
One's like the worst dinosaur effect in the whole movie.
That's what I'm saying. They always go like, no, not that dinosaur.
You know what the best one is, Dragon? And this is one that I remember them showcasing in the trailer, was the bridge.
The bridge is pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, no, don't use the stupid fart that eliminates all credibility. No!
Hey, give me a break. I got 3 stomachs.
No! No! I'm doing my Marty McFly no from Back to the Future too. No! Anyway.
Oh, God.
So, again, I think we nailed Fred and Barney's friendship. Before Gazoo interrupts everything, we had a really nice moment where they're skipping rocks after they've, gotten past, they passed and everything. And it's like, I just love Fred and Barney's kind of by the shore, just kind of like contemplating, they feel like something's missing. Because fundamentally, these iconic characters, they need their wives to be complete characters. So I love the idea that, they're feeling, we're not. I love the setting here. Like, they're roommates, they're friends sharing this trailer apartment, but they're longing for something more. And doing a Flintstones love story is a great premise for a prequel. I'm all for that, man.
I mean, we've already seen it works wonders for a flash forward.
Yeah.
All right, so let's transition to the Wilma Betty side of things. So first of all, Dragon, I don't know about you, but I did really find that opening scene at this like Hoople Manor to be pretty entertaining.
Let me this way.
Look, oven mitts.
God. So let me mention this. So, Kristen Johnson, who plays Wilma Slag, that actress is great, but I think she's miscast as Wilma. I think she's okay.
Unfortunately, I agree.
They could have done a lot worse, but she's like, again, Elizabeth Perkins was really solidly cast last movie. And again, the idea is that, and she didn't, here's the thing, Kristen Johnson made a bold call. She did not do any research for Wilma because she's playing Wilma before she becomes the housewife. Which, to be fair, Wilma doesn't have a whole lot of development in the Flintstones. Not a whole lot outside of being a mother. The transition from wife to mother is pretty much all you really have there, and then you have like maybe very few sparse kind of layers if you do like an in-depth kind of thing. But so that's what I'm saying. So I understand the logic there. I just feel it was like, I don't know. It just felt really it just felt off.
Yeah,
But
I feel you.
I do like, though, the layer that we tried to give her here. We're okay. So the layer of slag. Wilma always had a mother that wanted better things for her in the Flintstones cartoon. So the extrapolation being Wilma came from money, and she was the rich girl who was attracted to the lower status Fred Flintstone. That's not bad. I can go for that.
Uh-huh.
What I really like, one of my favorite things about one of my favorite kind of set pieces in the prequel here in terms of our practical sets was Bronto King, which was this kind of the drive-in version of Burger
Dragon,
King.
I'm glad you bring up Bronto King because I don't know. These movies are obviously super outdated at this point, and they're never going to get any theme park representation. But god damn it, they should.
It should.
Because it's like, seriously, Dragon, this would be such a fun place to eat at Universal Studios, would it not?
Yeah, plus they had like the McDonald's. I don't know if they call it Rock Donald's or what. They had like a McDonald's in the other movie, so it's kind of funny. You can see the changes. So apparently Burger King came first, just prehistorically, folks. But yeah. Yeah, I'm with it. I just like the idea of, okay, so one of the iconic set pieces of the Flintstones, which is, you go to the drive-in, you get the giant thing of ribs on the car,
Dragon, we need the giant thing of ribs in a theme park, god damn it, petition for it.
Yeah, we do.
Anyways,
but seriously though, isn't that like a good idea? You're going to retrofit kind of an icon of the show to, okay, so totally. Betty and Wilma, they were waitress buddies together, and that's how Betty and Wilma, and of course, you take kind of the classic Frasier-esque misunderstanding of, okay, you think Wilma is homeless, so caveless in this case.
I like how we do a liar revealed subplot and we don't really dwell on it all that much.
I like that we don't dwell on it. I'm not crazy about how it's revealed in the second, mainly in the. I don't like how it's revealed in both parts.
I feel like when it is revealed at first with the mother, it's the first major speed bump of the movie, if that makes sense.
Tiki, the way I kind of equivocate things is basically at that point onward, that's when the BS starts to flow into the movie.
And then the moment that I mentioned is like the point of no return.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You're right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it starts to flow and then it just it floods. It's like it's just a river of BS. And
oh, God.
We'll get there. We're still in the good stuff, though. So, so anyway, also Jane Krakowski, I believe, from 30 Rock. I don't really watch that show, but yeah, she's a good Betty. I think she's
pretty decent.
For a young Betty, I can absolutely buy her as young Betty.
Uh-huh.
Betty O'Shea. I keep forgetting that Betty's last name is O'Shea. I like that. More rock names. So, all right. So the carnival date. So one, I know that you tell me you had to love this gag, the Jurassic Park gag, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. And then not only that, but I do think that it's a good entryway into Barney and Betty bonding over the laugh. Yeah. I do like the setup of them, having the opposite person's date at the start.
Yeah, the swap, yeah.
Like that to me was like a decent, like kind of like subversion where, where it starts with Fred asking Betty out on the date. And by the way, can we just talk about how it's like Betty, for God's sakes, if the guy cannot form a sentence to ask you out, you deserve better, Betty. You are a good-looking woman. I'm just saying, Dragon.
Anyway. So yes, they have the nice swap subversion kind of built in there. And again, it's real nice to see Barney and Betty, with their little laugh kind of love connection going on there, which of course leads to Fred and Wilma bonding over the carnival games, but most famously, the bowling moment. This was fun. This is one of the greatest, one of the most charming Fred and Wilma scenes.
Yes. The first of all, I really think they perfected the look of the Twinkle Toes move in this movie.
I thought it was always kind of good looking.
It was always really good, but I think it's perfected here. I really do.
Sure.
And the ballet that Fred and Wilma do with the Twinkle Toes. Dragon, that's glorious. That might be the best shot moment of the whole movie.
But I like the fact that Wilma was suggesting bowling earlier during that. Which, by the way, to be fair though, that scene where we introduced Wilma, it was always over the top. I think I gave it a bigger pass, and I was like, Less that, more the whole. We're gonna.
There's just certain line deliveries in that scene that just are etched in my
Well,
soul.
well, that's fine, but over the top. I mean, how we end that scene where the reason Wilma runs away, the
Oh
whole
yeah.
like, we're gonna turn into our mothers. Ah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
That's
by
not
the way,
Kristen.
I think one of the worst moments of CGI is when Chip makes his appearance on his kangaroo thing.
I know.
And
Well, yeah.
you see like the CG version of Cliff, like of Chip, I'm sorry, riding the kangaroo, like bouncing up at Dragon. That shot is atrocious.
I'm with you. I think that is utterly the worst shot in the whole.
I'm just like both times I watched this movie, when that shot came up, I was just like, oh God, no, oh, get it away.
Yeah, so very much they're overcompensating with the fact of, hey, it's 2000 instead of 94 when we're like a year after Jurassic Park, which honestly, the year
This
after
is
Jurassic Park,
it's a menace, baby.
that's what I'm saying. It's odd. The year after Jurassic Park turned out far better effects with that first Flintstones movie. I mean,
You know
you're
what's
right.
funny is that I feel like The Mummy Returns also did the whole like, hey, we're just gonna throw up CGI everywhere. Practical effects. What are those?
I mean, just to expand it overall with something here, Tiki, I don't know if you and I are going to disagree on this or not, but I think the cartoony physics and the CG, I think we lean too heavy into it. And I think it kind of took away from the reality of the film.
It muddies the
Waters.
decent. Yeah, I was gonna say the decent production design, but yes, Dragon, it muddies the water.
That's the thing about it. 94 was magic with it was kind of a magic trick with
Oh,
its
Dragon,
effects by
we were gushing about how good the production design
Yeah.
in the 94 movie was. It should have won an Oscar, genuinely.
So I mean, here it was either lazy or too ambitious with the effects and the style. Like, let's just throw more at it, and either not put polish in the effects, or this is the best. Again, I can't believe that's the best thing to do when we had limited effects that looked better. That's the thing I can't wrap my head around. But
right.
But a thing that's not helping.
Can we talk about the pace of this movie? How the acts are just really uneven.
Well, I'd like to finish my.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so real quick, what I'm getting at is, when we outside of just the CG, when we do we're trying to emulate the cartoon. I think some things just don't look right in live action, at least the way we're doing here. Like, for example, we shrink Fred because he's feeling small. I think that's a step too far. And then
Okay, I'm glad you bring that up, because we do that a couple times, and I do think it's like, I could see the cartoon doing stuff like that, but I agree with you. In live action, it doesn't look great. There's that moment where Fred's on the poker table being chased around too.
As a kid, the initial one where he's just at the party and then he shrinks, that freaked me out as a kid. Like, what is happening? Because I didn't know it was like a throwaway gag. I thought, oh my God, he shrunk randomly. What's going to happen next? And I mean, like, in the show, he shrunk like he and Barney shrunk once. And, like, it was a gag very clearly. But this is, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So we do stuff like that. We're trying to emulate like the whole like the hopping kind of polo on a dinosaur thing with Chip, which just looks all sorts of wrong. And we dropped the rock on that guy you love at the top, the proctor of the training exam.
And that is a sight gag that is probably, out of all the weird sight gags, that's probably my favorite one, where he comes back and he's like all squashed.
But that's the thing. Even that, Tiki, I mean, I'm not...
It's good cartoon logic, Dragon. I don't mind that one.
I don't know. I just wonder if it's a step too far in live action. I don't know.
I give that one a pass. The other ones you're talking about, I agree with.
All right, fair enough. Okay, anyway,
honestly, the reason I give that one a pass is just because I feel like it was set up a lot better.
All right, so what do you got? Okay, let's talk about the pacing.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, the main thing I want to talk about is that, like, literally, like, only the third act of this movie is Rock Vegas, for pretty much.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Down.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't know, I just think for a movie called The Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas, it's kind of a weird call. But at the same time, the first act of the movie is so good that it's like, I don't know, it's frustrating, Dragon. It's frustrating. And I like Rock Vegas as a setting. I think one of the problems that you hit on, and I absolutely agree with, is Rock Vegas as a setting in this movie. Like, just because of the budget, it feels straight up claustrophobic in some regards.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Rock Vegas is one casino. Basically, it's one really nice casino. That's about it.
Right, exactly.
It's a nice casino, but it's just one. Because I mean, when we go there, we kind of I think we sell Rock Vegas really well. Or okay, you're on the strip, you have tar dust and everything, and you have like the jacuzzi with a slide, you got the pool area, nice
Uh-huh.
casino. It's like it's nice. It's kind of one place, but it's nice.
But yeah, I mean, that to me is like one of my big issues with. I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of issues here when we get to the Rock Vegas thing, but I mean, first off, the transition there with with the Sly Coople reveal, and I like that with the Betty reveal, we don't really linger on it, but by the
Yeah.
same point, it is just kind of like, all right, here we go. She's upset with the liar reveal
So
thing. It's like we are going to go down that road.
all right, so let me talk some tropes and basically the deflating kind of mark of the film that leads into a lot of the pacing problems of the film.
Okay.
So again, I mean, Act One again, like when we have the day of the carnival, we have like a really great montage of showing them like kind of fall for each other. So basically, Flintstones with the Flintstones obviously they kind of animated the classic sitcom tropes. So with that logic, bring him into a love story of a film, or at least but as it starts as a love story. Flintstones applied to the rom com tropes. That's not bad actually. There's always a carnival scene. There's always in a rom com. We
Sure.
do that here. So that's that. I think that works. And then we have like a sweet scene where like a little montage of the love blooming, and more so like, hey, the little thought. But I think the best cartoony gag, by the way, was the thought bubble where Fred and Wilma like imagine their lives together. We have this cute moment. Like, oh, look, Wilma pregnant, and
That's fun. And one of the design elements of this world that I'm glad is carried over is the fact that illustrations and paintings and stuff kind of
uh-huh.
like are meant to resemble the cartoon.
Like the wanted poster, Fred and
Uh-huh.
Barney. That was great.
Uh-huh.
So again, things are going really good there, and is playing with kind of with basically one kind of movie, which I think the majority should have been. But then Pearl Slagcoople enters the picture after Wilma has run away, and that's the bridge into the weak part of the film, where it's the invasion of BS just begins. Where okay, so we now we have the liar review with Betty, which again, good thing. We completely pave over like, oh, we're not hurt or anything. It's just like, okay, this is a surprise. And the hurt that we see is less hurt, but more the Fred fish out of water comedy, which I think is fine, but I wish we focused on that more instead of, hey, Fred feeling a little inferior right now. Let's go to Rock Vegas.
Right, totally.
So the timing and the
Like
pacing of that.
it's weird timing because, like I said, it's like if they would have spent any more time building up Rock Vegas, Rock Vegas really would have felt like even more of an afterthought in the movie than it already does. But
Yeah.
by the same token, when we do get to Rock Vegas, it's still just like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. All right. Yeah, Dragon, like I don't know, like compared to the first movie, it's like the first movie is not like a masterpiece of narrative by any means, but like it has a good build to it. It has a good build from like Fred being very genuinely sorry to have to fire Barney, right up into him. Like you see the characters like naturally change through the circumstances of that movie. This movie has none of that. All right.
No, yeah, no,
I'm
it
getting
doesn't.
worked up, Dragon.
So that's the thing. So also again, I just called BS on like, okay, so how the heck is that Wilma's mother just shows up right then and there, just as Wilma's about to tell Betty?
Oh, I
Then we're
absolutely call BS on the explanation. Like it was like a private investigator, right?
yeah, it was a private investigator, but I call BS on the timing's just utter convenience. It's just like okay, so
Totally,
literally
totally.
right as she's about to tell Betty, then the mother shows up, and then the worst kind of reveal to me is like, okay, wait, you mean to tell me you didn't loop Fred in until you were driving up to the house for that reveal that she's rich? Really? You couldn't have told him before you got in the car?
Uh-huh.
And Betty already knows? Where's the logic here? Come on. Anyways,
Yeah.
but this is what I'm saying though. Even I think like the light that's about to be snuffed out here is like, okay, Fred as the fish out of water, like the scene you said earlier, where you're like, I'm in construction, like that sort of thing. That's the endearing Fred. I feel sympathetic
Yeah, it's
towards
like
Fred.
I said, it's like the endearing thing about that scene to me is that there's not like an ounce of remorse in what he's saying. He's genuinely like, yeah, I'm a quarryman, I'm a Bronto operator. That's what I do. It's and I don't know, like that really did strike a chord with me, Dragon. That to me is like the most impactful moment in the whole film.
And I mean, okay, as we bridge in to like go in the full Rock Vegas, just with what remains, I'm sympathetic towards Fred wanting to propose, but he feels outclassed, which then leads to again a classic Flintstone hallmark: Fred gambles. Fred gambling to impress and earn Wilma's love with like a better ring and stuff. So like, I like that sitcom logic applied to the Flintstones yet again. So that's a plot I can get behind, but then we muddy it all up with like, so Chip Rockefeller, he's in with the Sharks, with
Mhm.
the two Roccos that are that are they want payment back on the casino, which then leads to like, I'm gonna marry the slag hooples to pay off my debts. That's why I want to marry. It's like we took a very simple idea. You should have married Chip Rockefeller. That's literally the only reason this guy's in the movie, because we kept throwing that line around in the Flintstones. Is the idea of like, you should have married better. It's like, okay, well, why didn't she marry better? Like, okay, we have to come up with the whole story there because he's got to have a money.
Pretty much.
So it's just so Chip Rockefeller basically he's the generic other guy in every way. He's like the other guy she could have
I
married.
mean, Brendan, I will give the actor some credit because you can tell he's having fun playing smarmy. It's like he does have screen presence to him. I just think the writing for his motivation is all over the place.
Right. And honestly, I don't think it's necessarily all of us. I just think it's really uninteresting, Tiki. I just think it's very like, okay, so it just feels we're convoluting a simple story. He can't just be the competition. No, he's got to be the guy with like an evil plan, apparently.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, I think it would have played better if he was just the competition. He didn't have an evil plan.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. Gotcha. So I mean, on the whole, I mean, I think it's in character. Fred being blinded by gambling and the winning streak, which is very on brand for that character.
It is on character for sure.
So I mean, that again as like a wrinkle. Honestly, I think that in a better film, I think that would have been, instead of the whole crime plot. Okay, Fred's getting blinded by the gambling of always losing sight of things. But again, we can't have just a love story for a Flintstones movie. God forbid. No, we have to have like there's a whole criminal subplot. We have the whole Fred's being framed. We have all that.
Okay, I hated, even as a kid, I hated the whole thing with Chip just putting the pearls in his pocket.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. That whole thing just derails the movie in a lot of regards.
Let me tell you the biggest heap of BS in the whole movie. Second,
go ahead.
Okay, probably second to the Betty misunderstanding on the pool. Second to that, the win or lose switch in the casino.
Okay, I have fun with the win or lose switch. I have fun with that. I'm not gonna lie.
Come on, that is too cartoony, man.
BS. It is BS for sure. But I do like the cartoon imagery of it, Dragon. It is kind of cartoon logic.
I mean, look, it's fun, but it's like, come on, I don't.
All right,
that even work?
It never bothered me. The pearls bothered me, even as a kid.
You know why I think the pearls bother you even more?
Oh God, why?
It's the fact that again, it's kind of lampooning the it's better with the Great Muppet Caper with that whole frame up. Like
my
Lady Holiday's jewels.
But I thought you were going to make a Batman analogy for some reason with the purple.
No, but to highlight something, two things. But one thing we kind of glazed over, just with some origin points here. I do like we gave Harvey Corman like a nice, like a sincere moment. Outside he's playing kind of a Jonathan Withers kind of crazy general type. He actually has a moment where he gives Wilma the iconic pearls, and also Dino. So we gave Dino the origin, which is kind of founded
actually has a little bit more to do in this movie than he did in the last movie.
Yes, but Tiki more so than the on-off switch. I mean, honestly, I think the biggest leap in logic of the entire film
is Dino finding the mansion.
They found the one he got free, and he found the mansion. And he's going all that way. He's keeping the energy up. And he's going all that way just to greet Fred. Really?
Yeah, I hear you. Like.
We eat him just to ruin
that whole moment is kind of it's sort of trailer fodder in a way. It's like, oh boy, look at the shenanigans that Dino's pulling off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know, yeah. But that said, though, I do like that Dino is kind of like the original Pebbles for it's like the whole like you get the dog before you get the kid.
Look at it, for sure.
Yeah, you get the dog before you get the kid. That kind of logic.
Uh huh.
All right, well, yeah. So what do you got?
Let's see.
Betty and Barney.
I mean, yeah, I don't think there's a ton to say about them that we haven't already seen.
Well, there's one thing We gotta
I
talk
think
about
the Mick Jagger parody is maybe like an even worse antagonist than than Rockefeller, because at least Rockefeller gets some development. With this dude, he's basically just like, oh, a little bird that I can swoop up and use as a notch as my belt on my belt. Don't mind if I do.
And Alan Cummings really wanted to play that part, so that's why.
Right,
It's just like,
yeah,
come on, Alan, you're better than this man. Come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
You're wearing fur. Come on.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, the less to say about the big Betty breakup thing, the better, just because I think it's so contrived.
Yeah. I will say the prison cell bars gag. I think
That's funny. That's funny. That is one of the best gags in the movie.
See, to me, more so than the whole universe show. To me, that's the great cartoony fourth wall.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't tell you how many times.
Like, even as a kid, I always cracked up at that for sure.
Because for me, it's always been just this, like, it's the biggest cartoon. One of the biggest cartoon cheats is like, just walk through the bars. You can fit through the bars. It's like, yeah, let's just call it out like that. Yeah, Barney can fit through the bars without having an emotional.
I want to highlight a couple gags that I like. This is going kind of out of order, but I just want to make sure I get them in there.
All right, what do you got?
One of them is a line that totally went over my head as a kid, but now I'm just like, ha ha. It's where Barney's just like, we're going back to my place, Fred. Betty says she's gonna cook me breakfast. I don't know what we're gonna do between then, but I can't turn down a good meal.
That's a good joke. I like that joke.
I was just like, I was like, oh my god! As a kid, I never would have understood that joke, but that's great.
Oh, fun fact! I don't know if you noticed this. Apparently, in Fred and Barney's trailer, if you look really closely, there is a box of Fruity Pebbles.
Oh my god!
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's fruity and not cocoa.
Rabbit hole of headcanon with that, but
I'm pretty sure it's fruity and not Cocoa Pebbles, but I'm pretty sure it's Fruity Pebbles.
All right. I mean, Fruity Pebbles is the most iconic of the two, I would say.
It is, though, but Cocoa's nothing to sneeze at, though.
No, I think Cocoa Pebbles is the better cereal. I think Fruity Pebbles is the more iconic.
At some point, they have to have done like an ad or something where they both have one of each.
All right.
Anyway,
I can see that.
It's like that's the solution to the feud.
Dragon, all I want now is like the next live action Flintstones movie to be like a Social Network parody about Fred and Barney and the Fruity Pebbles industry.
I'll tell you what I want. Okay, I want a short film where someone painstakingly went to the effort of Fred doing a drama of Fred and Barney having the Pebbles debacle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Totally.
But just a short film. I don't want to get too ambitious. Let's do a short.
Oh man, you know what? Would that be something Notarelli would do?
I don't. We know one thing. We can't pitch it to him because he has
unless we have the money for it.
Yeah. That's the thing. Unless we fund again, folks. You fund it.
I mean, occasionally Notarelli will just throw out on Facebook like, "Hey, pitch me something."
If he ever does that, then absolutely, that should be the first pitch.
Yeah, Fred and Barney in an intense legal discussion about the Pebbles debacle.
Is there like an arbitration of some kind? Like it's like they go into the house and they're just having like a big sit down, like a breaking sort of like conversation.
Yes.
Well, Barney, I think we should go with option B. That's my preference.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay. What else you got?
Oh God, I mean, I don't know, man. It's like I said, at a certain point, this movie just kind of goes down the toilet, unfortunately.
I mean, you know what a missed opportunity is with the crime plot and all in all for me?
What?
Is that, think about it, Vegas does, they have the classic kind of mob ties in Vegas. That kind of
have mob characters, but they're just useless because they're like third-rate villains. Like, they're the villains to the antagonists. So it's like, do we really care that? But it's like we're rooting for these guys to break Chip's legs.
That's my problem, though.
It feels so disconnected.
Yes, the problem, I think, is that you could have done, if you wanted a villain, you could have gone with the mob ties of Vegas, and Fred gets into a gambling debt, so it's like the mob versus Fred Flintstone. Instead, connecting him by proxy of Chip Rockefeller, that killed it.
Yeah, totally.
Also, again, I hate the fact that Gazoo needs to kick Fred for him to propose, for him to get the words out during the most important part of the movie.
Also, I need to throw out the fact that the Fred song is just ultimate cringe.
It is cringe, but you know what,
Ultimate
though?
cringe.
Yeah, let me tell you something really funny, though, about Fred singing.
Okay.
So there's this running gap as I'm watching through the first season of the Flintstones now. Apparently, I know Fred Flintstone was known for singing throughout the show, so it's kind of a nod to Fred the singer through various circumstances. But you know what's funny though? He actually sounded really good in the show, but the gag was like the wives always said, "What is that terrible noise?" Where actually it's like they got a professional singer in there. For some
That's
reason,
funny.
the wives
That's
always
funny.
hated the singing, but he was great.
Also, I remember the other gag I need to bring up, Dragon.
Okay.
It's a big one.
All right, what do you got?
I have poisoned the water supply.
So, do you recognize that guy?
You know what's funny? I recognize him, but I can't place him.
Okay, you're gonna love this because that's
God.
Jim. I believe Jim Dugan, if I'm saying his last name right. So Jim Dugan, he was Doyle in The Mask,
Okay.
and he was in the first Flintstones movie. He was Barney's boss when he was a busboy. He says, "Go clean up that table."
Oh, okay. Dragon,
Yes.
that is probably the single best gag in the movie, I think.
It's hard to beat.
timing on it is impeccable.
It is great. Ladies, anyone have any confessions that like I've been poisoning the dinosaurs?
And then
Does
I love how they keep cutting to it too. It's like dinosaurs, nobody cares.
It's a bit of a global warming kind of parallel there. Does
Oh,
no
oh.
one care? So last chance, I'm doing it. Get
That
out of
is
here.
that is fucking gold for me, Dragon. That is absolute gold.
So, I mean, the fact that he interrupted literally the proposal. I mean, I would have taken that interruption than Gazoo kicking him.
Right.
All right, so let's see. Unless you have anything else, I think we should bring this puppy home at the wedding.
All right, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I think the best cameo in the movie. I tell you, man, this really, especially the journey that we've been on with all these other movies. So, the minister of Fred and Wilma's wedding is John Stevenson, the actor who played Mr. Slate. So that's the voice of Mr. Slate marrying him. Which I don't know, it just really kind of gets me like, oh,
Mr. Slate kind of like unofficially christening Fred and Wilma's wedding, Dragon. There's something nice about that, you know?
And I think, honestly, with the exception of like the cutting to Gazoo with like the Dino gag, which I mean is palatable because it's over at that point, but just I think if you took out the choreographed dance number, like I don't mind the conga line, but it's like really they had like a whole choreographed dance number that interrupts like basically our big senior. Ending on the wedding is the best part, is one of the best parts of the film because I just love that it's like we made a change from a Yabba Dabba Doo that made sense. We're okay. If he adapted I Yabba Dabba Doo, then you would have had like Wilma in tears at her wedding because if Fred botched it and they had to get married in Rock Vegas. Well, clearly ending on a happy note, like Fred and Wilma, the famous holy union between these two iconic characters. And basically, Tiki, what gets me is like doing the Grease meets Flintstone just married ending, where you have the Flintstones theme and like the height of highs, you know, where it's like the big orchestral and have a gay dun, 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 dun. It's like the Vegas version of it. I love that. It's a great way to end.
I'm not a huge fan of the random dance party that they throw in.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If they could cut, because it's random. Yeah. They think about it. They get married and then they get in the car and they drive off and you have like the song play. Do that, get rid of the dance number. It's perfect.
Sure.
But I'm with you. It's just like, it just feels like random and they're in the wrong outfits because they had spare footage. Like, no, don't put that here now.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dragon, I think that's about it.
That's it.
All right. Surprisingly, we've had viewers here. We haven't had any comments. That's actually the first time in a while we haven't had any comments. But oh well, we had a good time, Dragon. I'd like to thank you, Dragon, for joining me tonight.
And you too.
All right. And then we only have one last movie on the docket, folks. So stay tuned for that, for sure. All right, folks. When the credits roll, that's our cue to run home and put the saber-toothed tiger out, unsuccessfully, until we meet again for the next mammoth marquee feature, and have a yabba dabba doo time.
Wilma!
Look, oven mitts!
Get out of here, Gazoo. No one likes you.